Focus now to the Bengals. Injuries obviously played a major role in the Reds season, getting it off track. And early in the Bengals season, we've seen injuries play a big role as well. And it almost got a lot worse this last weekend with Amarius Mims and Zach Moss both going down. Both were able to return to the game. But is there anything with either of those two guys that you think could linger and cause some bigger problems as the season progresses?
I don't know. I mean, of course, with Mims specifically being an ankle injury, an injury he dealt with last year in college. Full participant yesterday. I'm confident overall in the place that he's in right now. Don't have anything new on Zach Moss. We didn't get an update about Zach from Zach on Wednesday, and I guess we'll see where he's at today. He was in uniform on the practice field yesterday, even though he wasn't practicing, so that was strange, but I guess we'll see what happens there. I don't get the sense that that's major, though. He was walking around, obviously not fine, but he was walking around pretty fine yesterday.
On the defensive side of the ball, B.J. Hill obviously returning last week, made a big difference on that defensive front. And then Sheldon Rankins returning to practice yesterday. Zach Taylor still seemed pretty non-committal about him playing on Sunday. Do you think he looks like he's trending in that direction, or will we expect another week without Rankins?
That's the thing specifically with hamstring injury. The best answer here is I don't know. Specifically with the hamstring injury, what you have to do is you have to get that guy on the practice field. You have to see, even like they were the catapult chips, you have to see analytically how he's moving, and that informs the decision. So I know there was a lot of optimism before practice on Wednesday and leading into Wednesday about Rankins. I don't have the analytic data from Rankins' practice yesterday. So that's, again, the most accurate answer I can give is I don't know, but he continues to trend positive.
Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, obviously the main concern for the Bengals as we progress through the season so far has been the play on defense. Joe Burrow and the offense nearly perfect week after week, and the defense still allowing so many points. We heard Mike Hilton say yesterday that they had a players-only meeting to talk about some of those struggles. Obviously a big negative connotation with players-only meetings, at least for fans and other people around the team. Is there anything more on that you have with that players-only meeting, or what it could mean for the Bengals as they go forward?
Of course it meant something. I'll say this as well. Like, the Bengals' defensive leadership structure is built around a series of scheduled players-only meetings within specific position groups over the course of the week. So these conversations already had organically been happening when the defensive backs meet on Tuesday, when the back seven guys meet on Fridays. They've already had these types of conversations too. Now it was more formal. Sure, a more formal way to get these conversations going, but they know they're not playing well defensively. They know there are specific things that they're not doing well enough. They know specific guys aren't playing well enough. And ultimately, my opinion on players-only meetings is you can meet all you want, but when Von Bell still can't get downhill enough to catch up to Derrick Henry on that last run of the game, when your defensive linemen still consistently aren't winning one-on-one enough, when you have, Jermaine Pratt not in the same position on plays against the pass that he was in 2022 when he was playing the best football of his career. And I could go on with that when you have Cam Taylor-Britt's technique sliding downhill completely in games compared to what he's doing in practice. Like, that's the stuff that has to get fixed for me. It's very almost X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's players-wise for them. It's not a mentality. It's not a thing they're missing. It's just where the unit is talent-wise right now.
A few weeks ago after the loss to the Commanders, Joe Burrow said that he was going to try to take a more vocal leadership approach. Have you noticed a big shift in the way he's acting around the facility and around the team so far?
Burrow that's kind of been a theme all season, even before they had this slow start. Burrow is more vocal about suggestions about play calls and scheme stuff, and more vocal about what style of play the Bengals are going to play with than he's ever been. And what you've seen here is the Bengals aren't making decisions to keep their defense off the field, which I bet 75% of the teams, maybe 85% of the teams in the league, you'd see them run the ball more, try to sustain longer drives, try to do things to help the defense with their play calling on offense. The Bengals aren't doing any of that. And that, to me, is a reflection of a tone or a style of play that Burrow is trying to set, implement, and maintain. Burrow's doing everything he can. I think what's gone understated this week is, we focus so much about the overtime play calls. Let's talk, sure, completely valid. Also need to be talking more about everything Burrow did to get the Bengals up to that point. One of the best overall games he's played, specifically the plays out of structure, creative throws, dynamic, athletic throws that he was making. Such impressive play from Burrow over the last month. Again, he's more than doing his share to keep the Bengals in the mix right now, both on the field and off the field.
Charlie, I mean, you talked about the play of Burrow, no doubt. Like, obviously, if this defense is just average, Joe Burrow is the front runner for MVP. I know it's so early, but it's a month and some change. But with that being said, like, I know we talked about this on yesterday's show. There's a lot of things we talk about where people say, well, the Bengals don't That's not how they operate. They don't do that. They're not aggressive in this certain capacity here. They don't. The trade deadline's a few weeks away. Watching Joe Burrow play the way he is, assuming the defense doesn't get better, it's just I have a hard time sitting back and truly believing, no matter what the reputation of the Bengals front office has been in the past, I just have a hard time believing that even they could sit back, watch how he's playing, and just say, well, Joe, best of luck. Hopefully these guys figure it out. Obviously, with the deadline a few weeks away, I know there's still quite a few games before that, but like your thoughts on that approaching, are there any rumblings of any potential changes that could come to help this defense, to help Joe Burrow, to ultimately help this team?
No. I mean, the example I go back to was 2022. Cheeto gets hurt. I think it was maybe even the day before the trade deadline, and that was a glaring need. And remember, Cam Taylor-Britt against Cleveland on that Monday Night Football game played terribly. He had 2 moments where Lou literally told him, never do that again. That was a great team in a bad spot and an obvious position of need. And they're like, we're good. And for a team that had those expectations and was playing at that level to not make that decision then, obviously, they've got huge needs now, but this isn't even a team with as much of a Super Bowl expectation at this stage of the season as the 2022 Bengals did at that stage of the season. So I look at the Bengals' history as history that shows what decisions they'd make leading into the future.
We never like to put reporters on the spot to talk about coaches' jobs, about whether you think someone's going to lose their job or not. But fans always, everyone's seat's warm. Every coach's seat's warm, according to all fans and stuff. Is there any feel of that? Is there any feel of seats being warm, or is this just an understanding of, Zach, you're fine. It's your side of the ball. That's fine. This team's still playing very hard. Anaruma's a good defensive coordinator with bad weapons right now. What's the vibe for you and just reporters covering this team right now as far as anyone's job security is concerned?
When I look at the blame on defense, I look at personnel. I look at the whole vision that Von Bell is supposed to fix this defense, and that hasn't happened. I look at missed picks like Jordan Battle. So far, these guys are early in their careers. Joseph Osai, obviously Zach Carter now, that book is out. I could keep going listing guys defensively, but now a lot of these young guys, DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt, like the book's not written on their careers. They've got plenty of time, but the window is now. And they've been too late for the Bengals, even dating back to last year, to maximize what they were capable of based on what they were getting out of those young draft picks defensively. So I look at it overall as a talent situation. Now, any defensive coordinator for a team that ranks in the 30s and points per drive, let's say, of course that seat would be warm. For anyone in any situation around the league, for a team whose defense wasn't good the year before and then would be in the 30s, the following year, which would be this year for the Bengals. So that's probably more of a conversation for December. Let's see how this unit evolves over the course of the season. But, entering the season, let's just say the Bengals ownership and front office couldn't have had more confidence in Zach and Lou. Now, I still sense all the confidence in the world in Zach. Lou's got to figure some stuff out, but I still know that he's one of the guys that they want in the driver's seat, say, game planning for Patrick Mahomes, which is where this is all going and trending. Ideally as the end of the road for what they've been trying to build all along. So let's see what happens. I don't sense any urgency, though, or any quick decisions coming for the Bengals.